Good morning, beloveds. It's literally freezing out there, or it was. When I got up, my alarm went off at 6:30, and when I got up and looked at the phone, it was like, it's 31 degrees out there. Yay. We still got up. We still went to the park. We did have a few squirrels. There were a couple of hardy souls, and there were a couple of times where the squirrels actually followed us because we didn't see them until they were all past us, and there were soccer games going on in the freezing. There were soccer games going on, kids soccer, and so Tom would occasionally turn around and go, "Oh, there's a squirrel," and there was a pair of blue jays. Whether I got a picture of them or not, they were fast this morning. So, but I did take a couple of frost pictures and some sun in the park pictures. So, the park looked really good today. But we'll see. And then, of course, I got a really good picture of Sugar sitting in the sunlight in the room that I'm sitting in. So, okay. It is January 29th. We're almost finished with January. All right, January 29th. The title is, I shall see spirit reflected in every form, back of every countenance, moving in every act. The first quote is, the Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. That is Job 33:4. Thou hast begotten... What is this? Hang on. Let me try this again. Thou hast begotten the person in thy self-born mind, and in thy reflection and conception. They are the person begotten of mind, to whom reflection gave form. Thou hast given all things to the person. And that is Fragments of a Faith Forgotten. We created humanity. We know what their soul whispereth to them, and we are closer to them than their neck vein, and that is the Quran. Which, if you've ever wondered, the poet Rumi, and I believe the poet Hafiz, which is amazing poetry, are actually interpretations of the Quran, because that's one of Rumi's more famous, or it could be Hafiz, more famous lines of poetry. All right. After long meditations and much deep reflection, having passed through the confusion of human experience, Job finally arrived at the conclusion that the Spirit of God was within him, and that the breath of God was his life. We all have traveled the same pathway of experience, the journey of the soul to the heights above, and always there has been a deep inquiry in our minds. What is it all about? Does life make sense? What is the meaning of birth, human experience, and the final transition from this plane, which we call death? Somewhere along the line, we too must exclaim with Job, the Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. With the Quran, we must realize that the divine is closer to us even than our physical being. Nothing can be nearer to us than that which is the very essence of our own being. Our eternal search after reality culminates in the greatest of all possible discoveries. Reality is at the center of our own being. Life is from within out. We must no longer judge according to appearances, but rather base our judgments on the assumption that the God mind dwells within us, proclaims or reflects us into every act. Thus, the search after reality culminates in the realization of the ever-present good. The search at this point should cease, and we should at once enter into our divine inheritance, no longer as searchers after, but now as users of the highest gift of heaven. I feel that my search is over. I feel that I have discovered the great reality, and today I shall speak this reality into every experience I have. I shall see God reflected in every form, back of every countenance, moving in every act. All right. Occasionally when you hear me hitch, one, sometimes it's because the sentence didn't go the way I expected, and two, most likely because I am gender neutraling it. I'm gender neutraling it for two reasons. One, as a woman, the he, hims, the he, hims, and man is a little off-putting for me. But I don't want to make it feminine, which is why I gender neutral it. The other reason I gender neutral it is because it's way more inclusive. Because that way it includes men and women and people who are anywhere in between. The beautiful thing about gender is it is a spectrum, as is everything in this world. You know, this is not a binary world. It's a spectrum. I mean, there's not day and night because we have twilight and dawn. The light changes throughout the day and so does the night. So, you know, that is why I gender neutral things. And I'm making more of an effort. I'm not even reading it the first time through without gender neutraling it. So, it was kind of one of those. I actually had a conversation with Dr. Reverend Edward Viljoen about the drive to do this. And as he agrees with me, Ernest would fully support this. He wrote in a time when that was the way that they wrote, and so he wrote for that audience. But we're open at the top, so he allows us to change it. All right. And part of the reason why I went through all that was because sometimes Ernest can get pretty metaphysical, and sometimes he's pretty plain spoken. And today, he's righteously plain spoken. He's like, look, once you know who you are, you can stop looking. You can stop looking and you start using. Because we spend our lives before we know who we are looking for the power that made us. Once we recognize the power that made us is already within us, then we can go, okay, well, I don't have to look anymore. I know who I am. Let me use this power. And let me use this power in ways that it should be used. Because I've been using it the whole time. But now that I know what it is, I can use it much more effectively. I can use it more efficiently. And I can use it the way it's meant to be. I become a co-creator with my source. You become a co-creator with your source. And that, then, you know, the only limitations are what you yourself say. All right. So, I shall see spirit reflected in every form, back of every countenance, moving in every act. That's the title. It's also the ending. And that's, if you've not read Job, I commend Job to you. Because it's an interesting story. So the Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. This is the exclamation that Job puts in. I forget how long the book is, but this is 33, chapter 33, verse 4. So there's still some more to go, but he's already been through a whole lot at this point. All right. And then the fragments of the faith forgotten. Thou hast begotten the person in thy self-born man, and in thy reflection and conception. They are the person begotten of mind, to whom reflections gave form. Thou hast given all things to the person. All right. And then the last one is the Quran. And like I said, this is, I think both Rumi and Hafiz have poetry with this line in it. So you've heard it before. We created humanity, and we know what their soul whispereth to them. We are closer to them than their neck vein. All right? That is the Quran. We are made of God's stuff, no question. It's like God knows what's in our mind, because the mind we are using is the mind of God. It's not because God is in our mind, but because the mind we are using is the mind of God. And that makes a difference. We are not being spied upon by the deity. Ooh, which gives you a whole different idea about Santa. If you look at Santa as a divine idea, he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake, because you're using the divine mind. That's why. You're not being spied upon. You're using the very mind that is that principle. That's an interesting idea. Woof! Gives a whole new idea to that, that song. All right. After long meditation and much deep reflection, having passed through the confusion of human experience, Job finally arrived at the conclusion that the Spirit of God was within him. Job went, all right, the Spirit of God is within me. And then the breath of God was his life, which is part of Ernest's treatments. Frequently you'll see, not necessarily the breath of God, but he says, this life is my life now. And that's what Job was going, wait, I'm literally breathing the breath of God here. We have all traveled this same pathway of experience, the journey of the soul to the heights above, and always there has been a deep inquiry in our minds. So what's the inquiry? According to Ernest and Raymond, what is it all about? What is it all about? Does life make sense? What is the meaning of birth, human experience, and the final transition from this plane, which we call death? And then he says, somewhere along the line of thinking of all of these things, because I mean, those are big questions, somewhere along this line, we must too exclaim with Job, the Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. What is the meaning of birth, human experience, and the transition that we call death? Everybody's going to have their own answer. And no two people are going to have the same experience. But the ultimate conclusion that Ernest is suggesting that we all come to is that we are God having an experience of life. That is who we are. So when you look around you at all of the living beings, including these living beings, this is God right here having an experience of life as an orange cat. Which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. And there's God out my window having life, experiencing life as a tree, and God out there experiencing life as a squirrel, and God out there experiencing life as my neighbors, you know? It's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. All right. With the Quran, we must realize that the divine is closer to us even than our physical being, because our physical being is made of God's stuff. Nothing can be nearer to us than that which is the very essence of our own beings. We're made of God's stuff. Our external search after reality culminates the greatest of all possible discoveries. Reality is at the center of our own being, all right? The wellspring of reality is within us. The world that we look out and around and see starts here. It starts here. It starts here. Because who we are, who we know ourselves to be, colors the world that we see. It flavors the world that we see. It changes the world that we see, which is how ecstatic experiences and traumatic experiences can change the way we experience the world. Nope. You have to get down. Okay. Rita decided to get down, and I didn't want her to go where she was going, so. So it literally, our experiences change our world, because it changes the way we look at it, and it changes the way we interact with the wellspring at the center of ourselves. Okay, life is from within out, not from without in. So the information coming in is less important than the information coming out. And when we get that, then nothing that anybody says around us matters. It's like, your opinion of me is none of my business. What you think about me is none of my business. And when we understand that the world is lived from within out, then we understand that we have way more power over our reality than we think we do. All right. We must no longer judge according to appearances, which means, outward form, but rather base our judgments on the assumption that the God mind dwells within us, proclaims or reflects us in every act. All right, that one's a little tricky. I'm going to let you think about that one, mostly because I don't have a good... The God mind, the mind that we're using is the mind of God. And everything we do from that mind. Are we reflecting that mind? And if we are not reflecting that mind in our actions, in our words, in our deeds, then what could we change? I'm not going to say should. What could we change? Because then that will shift our reality. Thus, the search after reality culminates in the realization of the ever-present good, because it starts here, within. The search at this point should cease, and we should at once enter into our divine inheritance, no longer searches after, but now users of the highest gift of heaven. And that's what I mean. Once we know who we are and recognize that we are using the divine mind, we are living that divine life, we are using that divine power to create our world, we will do a much better job. I'm always going to come back to Maya Angelou. When we knew more, we did better. We did the best we could with what we knew, and when we learn more, i.e. learning who we are, learning what mind we are using, we will do better. All right? So rather than searching for the power to change our lives, we recognize it's always been within us. It's like, thank you, Dorothy. Let me click my shoes and go home. So I feel that my search is over. I feel that I have discovered the greatest reality. And today I shall speak this reality into every experience I have. I shall speak this reality into every experience I have. I will use my words knowing fully the power behind them. All right? I shall see God reflected in every form, back of every countenance, moving in every act, which means mine and every living being around me, including the cat that just popped up over my shoulder, who has decided he's done. I talk too much. So, what's the mission today? What is the mission today? I will tell you. I know that the last line is very mission-y, but I kind of like this one. All right, the mission today is to speak our reality into every experience, knowing that we are living the divine life and we are using the divine mind. We are co-creators of our reality. The mission today is to act like it. Because we know who we are. We know that we are beloved children of God, made by God, of God's stuff, to experience life. We are the channels through which God experiences life. And in that vein, God gave us everything we needed to make the life that we want. So let's make the most of what we have. And understand that we do it in relation with other godlings, which can make it interesting. And I love the word interesting because sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's not. All of that all depends on the tone of voice. All right, beloveds, I'm also going to encourage you, as I always do. Do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever it looks like. Be it big, be it small, it does not matter. Today, I would suggest stay warm. I see at least 1 cup of hot chocolate in my future. So take care of yourself. Do something to engage your mind and your body. Go get a face full of sun. The sunrise was really pretty today. It was just this big orange glow. Fantastic. I hear yard work, so probably should get off this pretty quick. Drink plenty of water. Open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven right here, right now. It's all around you. So please look for the good. Recognize the godlings around you. Recognize the godling looking you in the eye in the morning in the mirror. All right? Know who you are and make that best use of the experience that God has given us, whatever it looks like. Because the truth is, there's no right or wrong. It's all experience. So, you do you. You do you. Okay. The loving, kind, compassionate, that's a spiritual practice. It's a habit. I encourage it every day. So I am going to tell you to have an amazing day, a wondrous day, a great day, a fantastic day, a fantastical day, an enchanting day, a warm day, a sunny day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day, because you are enough just as you are. As I have reminded you, you are a beloved child of God, always and forever. All right, beloveds, it is Saturday, which means that there is an amazing service going to happen tomorrow, because we are wrapping up the January, but we're staying in the same book. It's 10 ideas, so we'll figure it out. So take care of yourself. Have an amazing day. Stay warm and watch for Reverend David around 5 p.m. and I'll be back with you at 9 a.m. before the service. And then I will head on to that. So catch us on the social medias. Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark, or I am the Running Rev Ryan. All right, beloveds, know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.